Today, I got a special topic for you that I thought would very much suit your proficiency, as much as I know that you have a lot to say about Overwatch in general and very specific subjects. But today, as you are a Twitch streamer, I want to talk about Overwatch's decline on Twitch. And when I say decline, it doesn't just mean numerical decline. I also want to talk about the streamer experience and the viewer experience. And I thought that, considering I know you and we're friends, that this would be a good topic for you to cover.
Yeah, I totally agree. There's been a lot of talk about Overwatch dying in like the last few weeks slash month, and it kind of feels like everything is going downhill. Everyone is like in a very negative mood in general, and with the recent XQC leaving Overwatch, the Fran quitting, focusing on pro play, there's been a lot of like talk about Twitch or Overwatch on Twitch not doing too great anymore, and Oh,
It has been kind of a long fall for Overwatch. I think it all honestly started when Tim the Tapman initially left, who was the biggest Overwatch streamer at the time. And you may think about the streamers what you want, and if you're not in the like Twitch community, just know that streamers quickly found out after I think like 1.5 years that Overwatch streaming has reached its peak very quickly. And what happened now recently, again, if you are not following the events, XQC, who you probably heard of if you consume any kind of Overwatch content, took essentially his 30k viewer base and played Minecraft with it after he got banned from Overwatch again. And at that point, him streaming to 30k people playing Minecraft was more than the total amount of viewers watching Overwatch at that time. And that leads a lot of people to like spamming that Overwatch is a dead game, that Overwatch doesn't go anywhere on Twitch, even though statistically, when you go on sites like twitchtracker.com, the numbers have been pretty steady since January if you compare that. And I think one big reason in my mind is because they're stat padding the hell out of Twitch with all the promotions.
oh, so you're talking about the general promotion. I think Blizzard at this point realized that their viewer base might be declining, and they're trying like everything to stop that from happening. They recently built this new room in the headquarters, right, which promotes like Twitch streaming and
the streamer HQ,
yeah, the stream HQ, and they're endorsing a lot of like streamers to stream from there, and they're also promoting that on Battle.net. I think I've seen it, and I think it's a very difficult topic. So on the one hand, like the community of XQC or big streamers in general has always been like very vocal, right, about their opinion. And like when such one really big community has like so many voices, it's really easy to like fall into the trap of like seeing that kind of like spam or seeing those kind of opinions and like just following them and not really thinking about what's happening. I think in general, people are just fed up with the game. And while most of them still love the game, it has been definitely harder to watch and harder to play. And I think overall it comes down to the gameplay itself, making it harder for streamers to create good content with the game. And also like Blizzard really like trying to, it seems like Blizzard is like trying to create this like very PMA, stream-friendly PG content with their streamers. That's why they are not endorsing streamers like XQC, who have like a very like, they're very vocal about the game, even though they love the game. I'm sure XQC still really loves the game. But, in the end, it comes down to like Blizzard itself and like how they're balancing the game and how they're working on the game, I think.
Do you think it always correlates that when the game becomes worse, that more people stop playing the game and more people try to watch the game, and then as they watch you, for example, have more trouble in the game, that they feel reinforced in their negative experiences themselves and feel like the game becomes worse as a result?
Yeah, I think so. I think like for the average Twitch viewer, most of my viewers are also playing the game. I know a few people that like just watch and would never play the game themselves, but I think for most of my audience, and I think for most of the Twitch audience in general, they play the game, right? There's a lot of people watching streamers like to improve. That's why there's like really good educational streamers that like build the like try to focus their streaming on education. And I think that's what people want. And when they watch like their idols, so to say, or when they watch like people they like not enjoying the game themselves after having a bad time, it definitely reinforces their opinion about it. And I think that's the underlying issue that we're like working with right now. It's just that the game's balance is not really going in the right direction, or not really moving fast, and it becomes really stale watching the same meta for like, or playing or watching the same meta for like multiple months. And has been an issue in the past, right, with the Mercy meta. I think Tim the Tapman, you brought him up earlier, he kind of quit during that time, right? I think he quit when the Mercy meta was like so dominant, and you had to pick Mercy, and it felt like as a DPS or a tank, there was, it was really unrewarding to play. And just the fact that we stayed on that meta for like 6 months made a lot of people leave, and also made like streamers leave, I think. And now we're looking at the next meta, which is goats, where it's essentially if no DPS in the game are viable, and all you see is 3 tanks and 3 supports like smashing their head into each other, it becomes really unenjoyable to play, but also really uninteresting to watch. It's not even about the enjoyment.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I've seen a tweet from Iostux. He's a German coach. He coached in YXL too. And he said something along the lines of, he was asking people, if you watch goats versus goats, is it really fun? Can you really pop off by playing goats? Because ultimately it's what you look for as an audience, right? You look for the exciting Genji blades, the 5-man high noons, the like massive plays that are exciting. Does that even happen in goats? Because I feel like it doesn't.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think that's the main issue with the game right now. It's just that the game is designed to have DPS, tanks, and supports. And while like it could be a fun play in goats, in the end, it all comes down to who has more ults right now, and not really about anyone really outskilling. I watched a lot of the World Cup and the World Cup finals, and that was mostly goats if you watched it. And it all came down to who managed ults better, who had better movement. But there was never really like an exciting moment where you were like, wow, this person really carried that fight, and that brings the excitement in watching, right? Just like when you watch football or like I don't really watch sports, but if you watch sports, there's these exciting plays happening, and I think that's what makes the sport or the esport fun to watch. If everything becomes stale and very linear, and you can predict what's going to happen before the fight even starts, right? In goats, like one team has 2 more ults. If that one team doesn't fuck up completely, the other team is going to win. Or like the team with more ults is going to win generally. And you can kind of predict how the fights are going to go. And it's the same thing on every map. And there's not really like a lot of like counter strats like anymore. It's just a very stale meta. And that's like the main issue, I think, right now.
I do remember one thing that I didn't follow the World Cup as much as I should have, because it was like around the time where I started getting a full-time job. And after you watch Overwatch League, which has like a lot of hype and production value behind it, I just couldn't find myself to really enjoy the World Cup. But I watched it at BlizzCon, like with a virtual ticket, obviously. And one thing that Golden Boy said really like stuck in my head. He said that he likes goats because there's like different variations of goats, which isn't technically wrong when you think about it, because you can replace certain elements, and then, for example, if you have a Zenyatta in your goats, you have more damage than when you run a Moira, but then you run an Ana for the anti to counter their goats. It's not like there isn't counterplay in like professional goats versus goats play, but especially when you look at your average streamer, and even to an extent the pro play, when you play goats versus goats, even when you have this like under the hood decision making, at the end of the day, you just still have 12 people smashing their faces into each other. And that just isn't really fun to watch.
Yeah, exactly. Just what you said. And I wouldn't of course, there's counterplay, even in GOATs, right? But if counterplay comes down to swapping one of the 6 heroes or the 7 heroes that are viable, right? That's not really like a big mix-up. It's like 1 or 2 abilities that are going to matter, but it's not like one team swaps off like 2 or 3 heroes. It's like literally like Zen or Ana, and then you can run Brig or now a Roadhog, but it's still the same thing. The base is still the same, and
it's not like that play style changes. You either play for sustain or you play for that big anti or something like that.
Exactly.
rough.
And like the thing with the whole topic when it comes back to like viewer enjoyment or like people watching that on Twitch is most of the games are not pro play, right? Like
Of course, yeah.
Overwatch League. Oh yeah, Overwatch League is an off season, and even on high SR games, even on like top 500 games where everyone is top 500, and people decide to run goats versus goats, it's still it's not a very deep game. It's just people like holding mouse one, smashing that together, pushing Q, and like I think even when Overwatch League comes back, if they don't fix the meta, until February when Overwatch League is back, if people have to endure goats versus goats watching Overwatch League, I don't think a lot of people will stay with Overwatch. And I'm not saying that because I don't like the game. I love the game. I know how much the game could be. You know, the game has so much potential. There's so many amazing heroes in the game, and somehow they manage to create a meta that only really supports eight characters or 9. You know, you could argue like the GOATS characters, and then there's Doomfist Sombra, and everything else is basically not viable, and you're hard throwing. And there's like 29 heroes in the game now, right? So that means like less than 1/3 of the whole hero roster is viable. And like, what's the point of the game then, right? Like Overwatch was designed as a game to encourage swapping, right? It's to encourage counterplay. It's to encourage different strategies. And if there's only one viable strategy for a month now, and they're still taking so long to change that up, it's a problem.
I do think that what you said earlier about the educational streamers like Kibaji, for example, right? I think that people looking out for these kinds of streamers is very, very valuable because the game itself doesn't teach you a whole lot. And a lot of players are like stuck trying to find out what they do wrong. So these educational streamers are doing a great service to the community. But from an entertainment perspective, as you say, Overwatch is this game with so many different characters, so many different maps, that even maps within the same game mode sometimes play very differently, that if you don't have this variety and every game just feels the same, it becomes a chore to play for one. But if it feels like a chore to play to the streamer and the streamer can't cover that up, and let's be honest, most viewers, despite popular belief, are not stupid. They can smell a liar like 10 miles away. And if you don't enjoy the game, they can tell. And if you don't enjoy the game, they're not going to sit there and watch. And if you have this like circle jerk of negativity of, I play the game, I hate it, I watch my favorite streamer and he hates it, and I feel reinforced in hating it, then this really brings back this whole like, this feeling of the game dying. Even when you look at the Twitch numbers that say, well, the average viewership has been pretty consistent. But now I want to talk about the success of their promotions, because naturally we had the Overwatch League. The Overwatch League had a great bump in viewership, and if you were in the chat as, I don't want to say cancerous, but as weird as the chat can be at times, it never felt like the chat was dead. And it had a pretty decent viewership all throughout, and but you still always have this like nagging thought at the back of your mind. What if they didn't give me free shit for watching this? Would there still be that many people? Would they still get all these sponsorships? Because obviously, Blizzard has the real numbers, right? Like, Blizzard has the numbers of, like, how many people watch before and after they introduce certain promotions. They know how big the player base is. They know if players leave the game. So, are they doing this to pad their numbers and make the community feel like the game is doing better than it really is to, promote a almost positive circle jerk to get people back into it? Or what is their plan with that? Because obviously that can't be a long-term solution.
Yeah, I think this is more like Band-Aid fix right now, Band-Aid fixing. I think they do see a drop in like, especially player base, but also viewer base. And I think they're trying to Band-Aid fix it until they come up with a solution. But then again, why do they take so long to find solutions? Why do they put out the patch on PTR that nerfs Doomfist and Sombra? And we're going to wait for another like 3 weeks until that patch is live. And then we don't even know if it's going to change anything up. And that's why I don't understand the approach of Blizzard. I think most people, like, I'm not a professional in like the gaming industry, or like how to run like a company, or how to promote your game, how to make your game better. I'm sure there's so many geniuses at Blizzard that have so many ideas. So I don't understand why in the end they're not working on improving that. So I think Blizzard is working on like they're working on band-aid fixes instead of like actually targeting the problem. And when now even most Blizzard endorsed streamers are saying there's a problem, right?
Like Seagull.
Which are like Seagull, who have been like really trying to boost Overwatch and like always be like PMA, so to say, and always try to see the best in the game. When those people start talking about the game in a negative way, there's something seriously wrong.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Yeah. So back to the whole Overwatch League thing. Of course they want to promote it. They're putting a ton of money into it, and they want it to succeed. But they got to realize that in order for the league to succeed, they need to make the game better, and they need to work on balance more, and they need to work with pro players more and with streamers to create a better viewing experience, which also comes with a better gameplay experience.
Sometimes I wonder if the Overwatch League itself might have been like the biggest band-aid ever, because I remember at the time that the league was running, before the league started, I was kind of feeling burned out of the game. Then I watched the league, and I suddenly feel I'm not only hyped about the games I'm seeing and the players I'm seeing and the storylines that unfold, but I was encouraged to learn new heroes. When I see these pro players just like be absolutely nuts at the game, at like, let's say Genji, that was the first time in my life I sat down. I was like, all right, I'm gonna spend the next like 5 days just grinding Genji, try to get better, and I actually got better at it. But when the league stopped, that was gone. The World Cup was supposed to pick that up, but as I said in the beginning, that just didn't do it for me. And according to the overall viewership, it didn't do the same for a lot of people. So I question their decisions, even in the sense of like these band-aid fixes that they're doing. Because when you think about Pink Mercy, which was a great charity effort that I highly supported, and the Nano Cola event, the success behind that was selective streamers and targeted promotion. So why would they decide now with the release with the release of Ash to say, hey, literally every Overwatch streamer, if you have 1 or 1,000 viewers, gets drops enabled now. It's not like you're suddenly gonna inflate views by that. People are gonna keep watching the streamers that they want to watch anyway. You don't make people feel like the game is in a better state, even from a like anecdotal perspective. And you really don't do anything at all with that other than being like, hey, yeah, I guess we can do that. When previously you had a system that for Seagull, he got, I believe, thousands of new subscribers by promoting the Nano Cola event with Blizzard. And suddenly they just go like, oh, whatever, I guess that worked for a while. So what are they doing with that?
I think that's just, honestly, I think it's a panic move. It's like...
It feels like it, yeah.
We might have everyone, like, a week ago, right? Like when XQC quit. Or before he got, we didn't even talk about why he quit, so to say, right? But like before he quit, everyone was still kind of okay-ish with it. But now it really went, like in the last week, you can see people on all platforms complaining, saying the game is dying. And I think it's like a panic mode for Blizzard, and they're trying to like their best to like put out that stuff. And what I did realize, or what I noticed, is that in the last week or in the last 2 weeks, there were more changes happening to balance than in the last like 3 months, right? Like they actually put out the balance patch, and they immediately put on another PTR patch with the Doomfist nerfs and the Bridget nerfs, right?
Yeah.
That happened pretty fast in Blizzard standards.
Yeah,
so,
especially by their standards.
Yeah, especially by their standards. So I think they do realize what the issue is now. Like they're kind of listening more, but I'm not saying it might be too late. I still love the game, but they really need to work on the basics of the game and not trying their absolute hardest to like keep the game alive, so to say. You keep the game alive by making the game better and not like artificially boosting viewership or like artificially boosting like the player count by making free weekends.
Yeah, they keep providing first aid rather than just pulling off the surgery that could, give it a longer lifetime, essentially.
Yeah, that's a really good analogy. Yeah, yep. I 100% agree.
I feel like if this really comes down, if what you say is right, which I think makes a lot of sense, that they are panicking in a way, because it all kind of comes together right now. XQC got banned, what I think he believes was unrightfully, ? I'm not sure.
He tweeted out in the end that it's deserved, but
okay.
Then again, it was like, I think what it came down to is him being toxic in a game towards players that make his gameplay miserable. And XQC, like as the biggest streamer in Overwatch, he always has like a million stream snipers. I think he himself said like he gets like at least like 3 snipers per game. Now, if those players want him harm in the game or if they just want to play with him, that's besides the question, right? But XQC, like every other human being that wants to enjoy the game and also has to produce great content, obviously is going to get upset when people keep on stream sniping, keep on trying to make his games even worse than the state the game is in right now. And I think then he got banned for calling someone an award in game because they stream sniped him over and over.
Holy cow! How dare he?
How dare he? Yeah. And that's like that leads to another point that I really want to like go into, and that is like the overall game system. It's not only about the balance, the balance problem right now that we're having. I think another big part of people leaving the game or people stop watching the game is toxicity versus one tricking versus competition. And I think that's the other big part where Blizzard is wrong, and where they need to realize that if you want to build a competitive game, if you have a league that is literally that like they want to push a competitive esports league, you can't make competitive play whatever and a quick play 2.0. You
can't have it be like Overwatch League, which in large displays what Overwatch should be and is at the highest level, versus other streamers and your just average players trying to play competitive, have that be entirely different experiences. If I watch the Overwatch League and I feel like, man, I really want to play some competitive right now, which happened regularly, and then I play competitive, I played 2 games, I'm like, you know what, maybe I'll just go back to watching VODs or something. This can't be right, and you have to realize that. I don't understand why they don't try to push more competition. Do they really think that the player base do not care about it? That the casuals are so much more important? Which is not to insult any casuals or whatever, it's just about furthering real competition. And I think we can all agree that in real competition, caring is the number 1 thing, and playing the game as it is supposed to be is the number 2 thing.
Exactly, yeah, I 100% agree with you. And it's not like we're putting the casuals in like another bucket, right? We have a system called Quick Play, which is for everyone, and everyone can do whatever they want, and everyone can have fun, and that is fine. But then, if you have a mode called Competitive, which is rated, you should treat it as a competitive mode. And in competitive mode, the people should be playing the way the game is intended to be played on a competitive level, and the highest competitive level is the Overwatch League.
Yeah.
And obviously people are going to look up to that, and there's a lot of people that just want to compete. It might be in Plat, it might be in GM, it might be in top 500, but everyone like wants to compete. But then there's players that don't care at all, that just want to play their one hero. And Blizzard said like multiple times that it's okay to just play the one hero in competitive mode.
And before we get all the smart asses who say that, like comp will never be like Overwatch League, we know those people literally get paid to play the game, but it has to at least somewhat resemble the Overwatch League in the sense that it's at least the same goddamn video game, which right now it doesn't feel like it at all.
Exactly. Like the game was designed on a very basic competitive level. The game was designed as a game where picks matter, compositions matter, counter-picking matters, and everyone trying their best and communicating. Communication is so important in Overwatch. And then you have players that never join voice chat, that play one hero no matter what, and then Blizzard is like, that is okay. But if you become upset about that, that is not okay. Toxicity towards those players is not okay. But playing that one hero every single day of your life, never joining voice chat, it's not even about voice chat, just playing that one hero. And I know how that sounds. I know a lot of people know me for playing Soldier a lot, but I try my absolute best. In every competitive game I queue up, on stream or off stream, I go in with the mindset of I want to win, and I'm going to try my best for my team to win. I usually shot call a lot in my games. I talk, like if nobody else wants to talk, I try to make the shot calls. But every single game, you get really lucky if you actually get a team of 6 that has the same mindset.
Insanely
That's
lucky,
very
yes.
rare. If you play competitive on any level, you can tell it's like 1 in 20 games where you feel like, wow, that was a really close game. My team really tried their hardest, and I always have fun in these games, even if I lose. Like I said that, like I'm like, wow, that was the best game of the day. I lost, but we all tried, and it was a really good experience, and it was what Overwatch should be like, and that's so much fun. But that happens in 1 of 20 games. And now, if you come back to like viewing that, right? If you watch that streamer play hours on end every day in comp, trying their best to win, and you see that they have fun in like 1 of like 10 games or 1 of 20 games, why would you be inclined to watch that more or play the game? Like why would you want to play the game if you see that the experience of people that really like put their heart into that and like do that every single day is so bad?
Yeah, you have to think about the message that this sends, and especially when it comes to this like competition versus toxicity argument. I had this podcast with reactive where we talked about toxicity, and my bottom line is there's never a good reason to be toxic towards other people. And I watch Metro stream a lot, and you know that I, as a friend, I don't agree with you, but that doesn't mean that I can't be your friend. But what I think is more important than shaming these players is understanding where that comes from. Understanding why that streamer gets upset trying to enjoy the game, and why your average player gets upset trying to enjoy the game and further the competition. And the message that this sends when Blizzard starts banning people for getting upset about people actively ruining the competition, it tells the player base that this is not a game to take seriously. It tells the player base, if you want the competition, this is not the place for you. We rather you shut up and stop playing the game than trying to push the competition and get upset if somebody plays counterproductive to that goal. And I think they've just been kind of killing the competitive player base, and we might eventually even reach that point where segregating that into a maybe new game or like hardcore competitive or whatever that actually furthers competition might end up being underpopulated because of all the steps that Blizzard is taking with streamers and with average players and with their own pro scene in the game itself as well as on the streams, where it just makes them go away. Over time, you lose so many competitive players that feel like this is not a place, this is not a game to take seriously.
Yeah, exactly. They have this one goal with the Overwatch League, but then they also want to please the casual player base as much as possible. And yeah, in the end, it all comes down to Blizzard's decision. And I really think, I truly believe, like they're saying they're trying to talk to content creators more, talking to pro players more to improve the game. And I really think that's the way to go with the game. And in the end, like as a content creator for the game, I think we all want the best for the game.
Absolutely, yes.
It's not like people always make like, there's a lot of like people on Reddit that shame like streamers that are not 100% positive about the game all the time. What they don't realize is we all want the best for the game. And in the end, we know, like we play this game so much, I know how much potential this game has in the end and how much it could be. And there's some fixes I could think of where it wouldn't take that long to like make it better, make it a better experience. And, I don't know. At this point, it just becomes depressing. I really hope Blizzard gets their shit together and
I think as a content creator, you probably heard at least as much as me the phrase of just go play something else. But you and I, in particular, we don't want to play something else. We love this game. We want this to be the best it can be. And I think with us having been sitting here for so long, I think this might be a good call. I'm wondering what the people think in the comment section about. Did you feel like what we talked about today, that the messaging of Blizzard is that this is not a game to take seriously and that this made you not care about competitive subsequently? Or do you still have hope for it to get better? How much do streamers affect you in your enjoyment of the game? And while you comment that, Metro, where can people find you except for on the flank?
Always on the flank, dude.
Always on the flank.
Well, my Twitch TV is twitch.tv/Metro. You can also find me on Twitter at twitter.com/ okay, that sounded stupid. Twitter.com/Metro_Overwatch. And I'm working on my YouTube. It's kind of a bit inactive, but that's also Metro_Overwatch. But yeah, I'm live on Twitch every day, and come say hi, share your opinion.
Awesome.
And thanks for inviting me.
Well, thanks for having been here. It was a pleasure talking to you, and I'll see you hopefully soon on your stream again.
Thank you, dude.
Pog champ.
Pog.